Okay, thank you. So we are actually starting the meeting at 4:08 p.m. today.
Let me just print it.
Leave it up to the chair to take over from here.
I can take over.
Sure.
Okay, so we're going to call to order the meeting of the Barrio Historico Historic Zone Advisory Board for Wednesday, October 10th, 2022 at 4 p.m. Call to order, roll call. So Paolo, I'm here. Grace?
Here.
Paul H?
I'm here.
Here. And Mary Lou is not here. Correct. And Philip, can you hear us? I guess not. So it's the three of us.
So Mary Lou and Phil are absent.
Yes.
Thank you.
So item number 2, approval of October 3rd, 2022. Does anybody want to make a motion to approve those? Did you guys get a chance to see them?
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
And I can second that. Michael, number 3, call to audience. Do we have any public comment?
We did not receive any comment by the noon of October 7th. So no public comments were received.
So we can move on to the first review for today, HPZ 22-086, 400 West Simpson, construction of accessory dwelling unit ADU, site improvements, overview. First, and we've got 30 minutes for this. Who's presenting this?
Yes, this is Jesus with Dust Architects.
Hi, Jesus.
Hi, how you doing? And I have Artina. Yes.
Hi, Artina.
Jesus, you are with who?
Artina.
Martina?
Artina.
Artina,
okay.
Artina.
Oh, okay. I got your email, Martina, and let's just do the review and then we'll deal with the payment after this review.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you.
So go ahead and start.
Do you want to share your screen?
I can, yeah.
Okay. Let me make you the, okay, you're good to go.
Okay. Thank you guys for being here. This is we submitted for final review. So I think everyone's seen this probably 3 times this year. So this will be going on our 4th. And I'll kind of move through, I think some of what we got from last courtesy review, and also things that we were looking at based on zoning review. We tried to sort of accommodate some of those responses there, but a lot of them I think have to deal with the setback. So on this page, we have the PDSD zoning review. They're calling out the setback and in 3 major locations, or actually 4 or 5, but the first one is the post height on the west side of the property, dealing with the shade structure. Another post height at the carport that's at the property line. And then there's the wall height that is enclosing the courtyard to the new constructed ADU that's at 8 feet. We'll try to clarify the heights of the masonry wall as needed. Most of it seems to deal with setbacks and heights within those setbacks. So I'll try to touch on those things as we're moving through our design decisions there. So just to go over development zone, a lot of this we've discussed before. For our purposes, we've removed Carrillo Elementary, and we're just going to focus primarily on Samaniego, even though we're acknowledging across the way in Simpson. And so as we move through the development zone, just highlighting contributing structures, non-contributing structures, their street presence. We also took an overlay to look at fences and walls that were surrounding the properties. And one point that we've added, we've zoned in on Samaniego, and we're looking at accessory structures in our development zone and how that relates to putting into context our decisions with the shade structure and the storage structure. So as we move through the development zone, about 5 of the 7 structures contributing and primary structures are pushing 0 lot line zoning. A lot of the front faces are pushed to Samaniego. The range is 12 to 14 feet plus tall from grade. And the accessory structures that we're finding in the neighborhood, most of them are in the alleys, but a lot of them are pushing 0 lot line or near 0 lot line. They're clearly within the setbacks. And then I have some pictures pulled from that. So as I said, our property, if you can see my mouse, is here, and we're looking at just the immediate context. And we didn't go across the street to Simpson, even though they have some accessory structures that are pushing the property line. So we tried to just keep it a Samaniego and the immediate neighbor. Moving forward, in red is sort of a figure ground of our proposal. The bigger block being the ADU that is habitable. And then this red wall here is the courtyard wall and a storage structure, an accessory structure up against the property line. And we do have also this entry court facade that you see on Samaniego here. Just a closer view, bigger scale to get some of that context. Last time I wanted to touch on one of the major things that was alluded from our conversations with you guys. So after the survey, it was highlighted that the existing house exists on city property. The owners are currently talking with the city of Tucson on purchasing any of their encroachments from them. So our permit drawings actually show that we tucked this fence in and are trying to sort it out, but ultimately we would like to achieve this arrangement. And so they're looking on buying this portion of land from the city of Tucson. Kind of going through some of this. This hasn't really changed since courtesy review 3, but we're kind of just doing our calcs where we're showing we're under the 70% lot coverage here. We're at about 55.4. And so kind of going into these zones, this orange is the ADU, new construction. This is wrong here. That blue is an entry courtyard. And then the storage structure is over here against the wall. And that's, I think, what zoning's calling out is accessory structure within the setback, and then this larger wall holding this courtyard here. We do have shade covering the vehicle use area, fabric shade cloth with steel posts. And number 1 and number 2 are also outlined with retractable shade systems, sailcloth. And we'll touch on the design of those here a little later. A little more articulated floor plan showing the elevations as we're dealing with a very specific grade. It has about a 3.5 foot drop off from Samaniego, relatively quick as we go through the site. So cutting sections through the site to understand. Section 1 is in the property looking back towards Samaniego. You can see a fabric shade structure here spanning from the new construction, but we're stopping short of the historic Elysian Grove. We weren't wanting to put anything structurally on that structure. And so there's I believe our engineer has them as 3x3 steel columns, about 2.5 feet from the face of Elysian Grove. On the other side where the vehicle is, these gates would open out like they do now. The car would descend to about this finish grade. This dashed line here is showing the actual finished grade where we're cutting through the section. So we're having to do a little bit of fill and just being able to manage the levels of entering on Samaniego, coming down the steps where the car is, and meeting a courtyard outdoor space level that also meets the finished floor of Elysian Grove.
Jesus.
Yep.
On your carport there. So, what is the finished floor of the inside of the carport going to be? Is it the same as the finished floor of the sidewalk, or are you having this major approach there going down? How is that?
Yeah, let me see if the site plan can. Let me try to zoom in here. Sorry. Sorry, I forgot how to use Zoom. Is that finished floor of the ADU?
Of the ADU, yeah.
So the ADU, we're landing at 2359 and 4 inches. It's about a foot lower than Elysian Grove finished floor. And where we're landing the car is about
59.
2359. So about 4 inches below the ADU. And the difference.
What's the elevation of the sidewalk?
61.5.
Yeah, 61.5.
So the sidewalk is about 2 feet higher than the inside of the carport.
Yeah.
2.5 miles.
Yeah.
Is that going to work to get cars in there?
They're currently using it in that way with a steeper pitch, but yeah,
Okay.
Right here. What did you estimate that pitch?
Like
Let me see if this section has it. So you can see on section 4 where the existing slope is in dashed. And we're just getting an ever so softer slope. And then to be able to land here. We're trying not to park on a slope, but I think in the field, we're hoping to maybe manage and mitigate that. We do have a retaining wall here, trying to hold most of that slope so that you can access the site, but there might need to be some fine tuning in construction. So that page is the next set of images to kind of give context. Over here, we can see the west shade structure that's spanning over the pool. This is a retractable shade. And here's the columns that are dropping. And we're hoping to integrate that into also where we're attaching the fence. But right now we have them as 2 separate constructions. So what zoning was calling out was this height here, the 10-foot tall, and I believe also the carport shade structure and the storage structure pushing up against the, or within the setbacks.
And also the patio wall for the courtyard?
Correct. Correct, because we're having the storage structures. You pull in your car for bikes, and I think some pool equipment will live in there, and house storage, all kind of living pseudo garage, but not really. So as that sets the datum at 8 feet, we're just wrapping that courtyard wall around at 8 to give a little more privacy. The neighbor to the south has I believe a bathroom window that's about at that location. And they're a little higher up, so they're looking down into the yard. If I can get that.
Yeah, it's just, I'm thinking that to be much simpler, we would have just gone to those zoning review comments and they said based on the carport height of say 10 feet, the required setback is supposed to be 6 feet. We are providing this. We're providing, my design is showing 2 feet. And the reason we have the 2 feet is X, Y, Z. Those are the reasons that we're going to need here eventually, because the historic review process can waive those setbacks, but to make sure that they are consistent with what is existing. So you need to show, you talked about the prevalent setback on the San Diego being almost a zero dot line, which is fine. You've demonstrated that, but you need to pick each of those setbacks and say zoning call this, the height was this, the setback is this, for providing this, and that is why.
Okay. I have some
But
of those images.
setback is the main issue here.
Okay. I have some of those images coming up, hopefully address that.
Okay.
We have some 3D here to just get the context of where we're landing. We did one, you know, we're gonna have to knock some of the trees out to construct, and they're hoping to replant trees. So the images on the left are of future mature trees, but we also took them away to sort of see what that impact would be as you're moving down Samaniego. And so you could see the fabric shade structure spanning between the historic EGM and the new ADU. And the carport one is actually just seemingly tucked in and out of sight.
The trees you're planning to knock down, are those native plants?
They are mesquites, but we're hoping to replace what we remove with similar.
So you take out a mesquite and replace it with mesquite?
Yes. On the images on the top is in the alley of the property between us and I forgot the address, but the neighbor on Simpson. So this is the alleyway. And then here's the posts that are coming up to it. And as we discussed in the prior design review, we were really getting this inspiration from the Saguaro Rib Ramada structure. We pulled the ones from the Presidio. We're kind of looking at the qualities at the Presidio of these were attached to a primary structure and they span to a column. Material historically was limited by the proportionate scale of lumber that was available. So you got mesquite, Y posts, and beams with saguaro ribs to span. The shade is not hard, but it is a filtered light. And that was sort of the quality that our clients had asked us to pursue. And for us, it gives a lighter temporal and organic feel to allow the light and air to pass through. And so those are sort of the qualities we set up for ourselves in trying to do this. After, and so using the images of the more common precedent at the, where is that? Maynard's. And sort of embodying that we have a structural post and beam system that we can span cables to, and we have a retractable shade system. And this would be for all three shade structures in the back. Tying to some of those qualities we touched on with the historic mesquite, but also allowing the owners a flexibility to use during the seasons when they want sun and when they don't want sun. And we're also really trying to consider minimizing that visual impact to the neighbors, even though we discussed last time that it is a new sort of typology in the area. It historically hadn't been used, but we are trying to abstract those qualities. And Michael, this maybe addresses some of what you were touching on. When we looked in our development zone for shade structures, the typical ones we found were attached to the building, were of wood construction, provided hard shade. And those were, to me, opportunities historically where residents and the community would infill those structures. A porch becomes a sunroom or a guest room or an expanded kitchen. And those were really only what we could find in our development zone, where accessory structures pushing the lot line. On Samaniego in the alley, we have this garage that is pretty much lot line 12 feet tall. Next to it, it looks to be a converted porch into an extension of the house. To the eave from the alley, it's about 10 feet tall to that edge. And then 401 is a little elusive, but you can see the structure, or 408 Simpson, sorry. There's a shed structure that's 9 to 10 feet tall, just depending between parapet and roof structure. And that's masked by quite a bit of vegetation. And they're maybe like 2 feet to the lot line. So they're not quite on it, but all of these structures are within the setbacks. And so looking at that sort of is setting the precedent For us, we feel there's a specific difference. We're just hoping to provide shade that's flexible. And we had considered instead providing wood beam and hard shade, more weatherproof and darker shade that matches the construction of the development zone. But in discussing with our clients and reviewing it, we felt that one, we didn't want to imply for any future use that this space could be remodeled and taken as habitable. So we're trying to leave with these shade structures a more temporal feeling, a more temporary feeling, and not to imply that you can infill that space. We're also, the hard shade at the scale that we're providing, I think would be comfortable in regards, but I think the way the owners are looking to use it, the flexibility through the seasons and to provide something more light and airy was sort of the driving design decision. So while we couldn't find a specific property in our development zone, we just expanded to rest of Barrio Historico and just snapshots from the street able to define shade cloths at these certain locations, this one actually being retractable. And providing sort of that kit of parts that we were looking to provide, steel structure, post and beam, cable, and we only found one retractable, but the other one sort of giving that light and airy feel. The owners also, and I don't know, Sheriff,
the color of that, is that red color what you are proposing to use or just for design purposes?
No, I think we're hoping to stay in an off-white. I think I know why the red is chosen and popular, probably because it looks less dirty over time, but I think we're wanting more of the cream white, probably not white, but.
Okay.
And our clients and the owners actually approached their neighbors. They were researching based on the Tucson UDC, an accessory structure may be built to the parcel line with the consent of the adjoining neighbors. And so they had presented the documents to their neighbors and have this letter of support acknowledgement signed both from 408 Simpson and their neighbor on Samaniego, both considering the wall height, location of it on the property line, and the heights of the shade structures. Zooming in more onto the ADU, we haven't really modified much here from the last conversations. Our focus mainly was, I think, on the shade structures and trying to explore any other options there. Windows are relatively the same. One that adjusted was the west window, just changed in proportion. Sorry. Were you pulling up?
This one, yeah. Skip.
Okay, sorry, I had the wrong file. This is what you submitted?
Yes.
Okay, so the west window got enlarged here. Sorry, hold on.
How was that window before?
Like the one that you just saw.
Right there.
Okay. And so now it's affixed with a casement attached to it?
Correct. Existing site conditions. That's just how it is right now. And some drawings for reference. That's basically it. I apologize. I'm kind of leaning on that we presented this 3 times. So if there's any specific questions you guys have, I can go back to the drawings.
What page is that? Shit.
Jesus, I know that Jody told me that this has been presented like 3 times as a courtesy review. I was trying to locate the legal action report that show that. And can you, if you have of your head, tell me those dates?
On the courtesy reviews?
Yeah, you say you have done 3 of them. You know what month you've done that?
February, April, and July?
I think so.
Or June. When was I in?
You should have that on the application.
August.
Yeah, I think it was
Yeah, it's-
June and August.
February,
August,
June, and August.
Okay.
February, June, and August.
So you did June, July, August?
February. Hold on. I think you guys had it. What was it?
That's fine. I can find out. I'm just saying if you have it on the top of your head. I can find out from all the legal. They were done this year, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'll find out.
Yeah, it looks like it was February 14th, June 13th, and then August 8th. I'm just on
Yeah.
the
Thank
website.
you, Grace. Yes. Yeah, Judy had told me that this has come before, and that, you know.
Yeah. Let me know if I need to go back to any page there.
I know I can't see the page numbers on mine, but where it's showing the elevations of the ADU on the Samaniego Avenue elevation at the top left.
Not these or these.
No, I think keep going down, Jesus. It's towards the bottom.
Okay. Was it this one?
No, it was a line drawing.
Got it.
Coming up. Or next one, I think. Okay, that one. So the top left, the Samaniego. So
Yeah.
that's the door into the ADU, into the courtyard, correct?
Correct. That's in the
Yeah.
space.
So where the person is at, to the left of where you're pointing. Yeah. So the opening next to the door, what is that? Wrought iron? What?
So we're looking to do its opening and provide some wrought iron example based on some of the precedents we've seen in the neighborhood.
So that's something you've seen over. That's hard to tell from that drawing.
It is. There's a few on Simpson. It's not exactly. We're trying to riff.
Right.
But there's some on Simpson. There's some on Convent. And there's quite a few more. I should have put that in there. I apologize for that.
Oh, don't worry about it.
It's that small detail that I overlooked on that one. But yeah, something we didn't want the sort of jailhouse feel.
Right.
And so trying to articulate some pattern or design based on the material, either steel flat bar or round.
And just let it age, or is it painted?
That's a good question. I think we were going to let it age.
Okay. Paul, Grace, do you have any questions?
I have a question regarding the fence height on Samaniego. I think in the August review that was being shown as 5 foot 5 inches. The current fence is about 4.5 feet, and now it's being shown as 6 feet above the grade level. I'd like to see it no higher than the existing fence.
So there's points that fence is at 6 feet and it kind of follows grade existing. I'm trying to find our elevation that shows it. We have it at 5.5 at Elysian Grove, and we're trying to hold a straight line, and it goes to 6 feet at the southeast corner. So we're not trying to follow grade where you have the corrugated panels shifting down as the grade's going down. So we drew a line. I'm sorry that I'm scrolling. I'm trying to find where this image is. Maybe this is the best one here. So where my cursor is 6 feet at grade. And we're drawing a straight line. And by the time that grade shifts, we're at about 5.5 over here.
Okay, by grade, are you referring to the street grade or the grade at the property line?
The grade at the fence.
The grade at the property line?
Sorry, I'm gonna be technical there. The fence is not built on the property line. So it's the grade at the fence. So
what you're saying is that the fence is set back from the property? Is that line? Is that correct?
Yeah. I'm sorry, Paul. The current fence is not on the property line.
I'm aware of that. I'm saying the new fence. That's what the proposed fence is what I'm asking about.
The proposed fence will be pulled in here where it's dashed red. And then there's a little jog out here to descend into the courtyard. And that's the piece of property we need to look. So there's a fence that exists right here.
Right.
And then a fence that exists at the red and red here. And so the old fence line is where this peach color is highlighted. So we're pulling it back. We're holding 6 foot at this corner, which is actually a little lower than where it currently exists. And we're drawing a straight line over to EGM, in which it'll land about 5'5" from grade there.
I think he's asking about the level that we're referring to, which would be the existing sidewalk height, moving from here and up.
No, I mean, when we drew this in CAD and we're taking the studies, we're taking it at the fence location. So at the property line, what grade is doing at the property line.
So that would actually be below the grade of the street.
Correct.
And perhaps you could specify that on the drawings.
Okay.
So are you adding a new retaining wall over near the existing structure on the east elevation? Like I see here, existing retaining wall, new 2 foot tall retaining wall. Is the fence sitting on top of that?
It is. We do need a retain over there because
so
right now.
How tall will the fence be there?
Those measurements I gave you was from street side. And so whatever that is from the inside, it ends up being like 7 feet tall on the inside.
On the inside. So on the street side, it's 6.
It's 5'5" in this corner from grade to the top of fence. And then it's 6 foot over here from grade to the top of fence.
Okay, so part of that fence is going to sit on top of the retaining wall.
Correct.
Okay, yep. Grace, did you have any comments?
Can you just quickly run through what has changed in the design since the previous review? I know we talked a bit about the zoning, but there's that change to the window. Is that the only thing that's really changed in the architecture?
Correct. Only that west window. When the feedback and how we got in the last review, it seemed like we were good with the architectural and openings, and it was those things that zoning was going to call on. It was a shade structure being a certain height at the fence line and the wall to the south, the courtyard wall being 8 feet. Those were sort of the major things and takeaways I got from you guys.
Got it. Yeah, then no, I don't have any further questions.
Yeah, I would like to again raise this the subject of the shade structures. I objected to that in the past, and my objection has to do with the fact that one, it's going to be a very conspicuous, visible element from basically from three sides to the property. And also, there's no historical precedent for anything like that in the barrio. So, you know, I personally find that objectionable.
Thank you, Paul. I think, you know,
and I'm speaking from the perspective of someone who's lived in this neighborhood for half a century. You know, I think it degrades the visual characteristic of the neighborhood.
I totally appreciate that. I'm at a disagreement. We studied hard shade. We looked at 4x4 wood posts. We looked at rafters and beams, hard shade and metal roofs, and it seemed really imposing and more visible from the road, both in the shade quality, the material used, the amount of shade and space it takes up. And we really kept coming back to this lighter, more organic thing. And as I mentioned in my presentation of what exists on Samaniego, historically, porches were added on to the primary structures.
Well, if you're looking at these drawings that you're displaying right now, these are all non-contributing structures. These were all structures that were built after the establishment of the historic zone. So,
understood, Paul. But we have a development zone that exists of contributing and non-contributing. There is no contributing shade structure documented. So I have no historical reference of how to build a shade. Every shade, even on the contributing structures, are classified as non-contributing, much like our shade will. And so in reading the Barrio guidelines, this is up for a conversation, and we've interpreted a historical shade element specific to Tucson. We're finding precedents in the larger Barrio Historico. We're finding where hard shade was put onto buildings, contributing or not, in El Hoyo or Historico, that those are then added onto or enclosed.
Well, generally for the purpose of evaluating things, we've only used historic structures for basis of evaluating things. I mean, what you're doing with these shade structures is introducing something that's completely alien to the neighborhood.
When we read the guidelines, we don't see that. We see that there is an opening for a discussion of abstraction of materials and introducing things that are complementary.
Yeah, I appreciate both of your guys' arguments. I think they're both valid. On the last review, I was against what they're proposing now, but then Philip Naher had a pretty convincing argument as to why to accept it. And I thought about that, and you know, I think he was correct. You know, we've got changing times. It's getting hotter outside. We've got to give them the availability to do something. And I think Jesus's argument with having big wood posts, it makes a very imposing structure there. So I think that what they've got going on here, it's an elegant solution to the property. It might not be in every instance all over the barrio, but I think on this one, I would be okay with it. The way I'm seeing it right now in the renderings. Grace, do you have any opinion on the shade sails?
Yeah, no, in the previous reviews, I've been for the shade structure. I think it's relatively inobtrusive. It's a light solution, like you're saying, and I'm sold on the precedent. Also, the views from this is the alley side. The other side we're not getting that, a visual of it too much. So as far as I'm concerned, it's not I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, the biggest visual, Jesus, isn't it on the west alley over where it's really tall right there?
It is. And it's 10 feet from grade right there.
That's 10 feet.
And those structures, as you walk down the alley, are, I think I got them 12 foot on the lot line. 10 foot is this one here from grade. And then 9 foot to 11 foot tall across the alley. And I mean, we're showing them sort of close and filigree, but the operability is something that the owners, especially seasonally, are going to be. So it's going to have this organic feel of sometimes the shades are drawn, sometimes the shades are back. And I think when they're back, they're going to be less imposing.
Yeah, but still the posts are going to be there regardless. So,
I mean, I have I'm on the fence of that one, Paul, because if we were to say I'd want a garage in the alley, then we're talking about putting a 12-foot tall structure and a garage door and having enclosed space really pushing up against the property line. And so we're really only talking about 3 posts and a beam and some flexible shade. It's partly why, if I looked at that west example, we did, and these become wood and I span rafters here. 1, I don't get the flexibility of the shade. 2, it's forever imposing. 3, I think it sets a precedence through history that this property exchanges hands, and now that becomes a spot that can be filled in. Technically, no, because there's a pool here, but where the carport shade is, or the shade spanning in between Elysian Grove and the ADU, we feel strongly that we don't want to imply that you can take over that space to become habitable, or at least as easy as that, as many constructions historically have, like this one.
So you guys are showing everything white. Are you doing a restucco on the Elysian Grove?
We just kept it white for materiality. We're not restuccoing Elysian Grove. The owners are interested in painting it, but they're unsure the color at this point.
What's the color of the ADU going to be?
The ADU is going to be white lime plaster. These are good questions, Paulo. I'm going to go to there's the existing market.
We have also.
And are you really using a lime plaster on a masonry structure now, or is you just calling it that, and that's a cement-based plaster?
We're hoping to use a lime with the silica sand to get a tighter compaction and seal.
Okay, so it's to be low cement content on it?
Yeah. That's on the new ADU. We haven't broached and crossed that bridge on how to address the main house yet with the owners. That looks to be cementitious, and there looks to be places where it's separating from the adobe, and that looks like we'd need some experts coming in and sort of advising on how to repair and how to deal with that plaster.
Okay, any other comments? No. Okay, I want to make a motion to approve the plan as is. And how many setbacks do you need waived, Jesus? Is it 4 or 5?
Let me go back to that sheet. Sorry. All right. 1, post height of 10. 2, post height of 9.2. 3, a wall height of 8 foot. I think it's just those 3. The rest is just calling out the code information.
Okay, and the wall height of 8 foot entails the storage unit and also the court wall running east to west. And then that has a jog going north too, doesn't it?
Yes, the courtyard wall that's attached to the shade structure to the south.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve the plan as is and waive setback requirements on 3 sides for the post heights of 10 foot, post heights of 9'8", and the 8 foot tall court wall and storage unit at the south property line. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
And let's take a vote. Paul H.
I vote no.
Okay. Grace?
Yes.
And I vote yes. So HPZ 22-086, 400 West Simpson was approved by 2 votes yes, 1 vote no. Jesus, Artina, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. We appreciate it. You guys take care.
Yep. Agenda item number 5, Tucson Pima County Historical Commission separation letter discussion. So I had an emergency last week. My daughter, she tore her ACL, so I had to take her to the doctor. So I was not at that meeting. So maybe one of the 2 of you could talk about that.
Yeah. So in the previous, let me share this with you. Okay, are you guys seeing the Word document?
Yeah.
So in the previous meetings, what we discussed was taking that list that Philip had written out as an email and just sort of converting it into a letter. I was supposed to send it out last week and it completely slipped my mind. So I do have it here. I can send it to Jody to share with everybody.
Michael, is Jody out of town? Is that why you're attending the meeting today?
Yeah, she's not in all this week. That's why I'm attending the meeting.
So maybe Grace can send this to you and you can send it out.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, perfect. I will do that. But essentially it's the same notes that he made before, just sort of reformatted. And I can get that out to everybody, or I can get that to Michael and he can get it out to everybody.
So you took the time to write it, Grace?
Yeah, well, just to format it.
I appreciate you doing that because I had volunteered to do it and I spaced my mind until last week.
So, Michael, do you know when the mayor and council is going to see this change come across their desks?
No, I don't know yet.
Perfect. Okay.
But we would make sure that your input gets into whatever thing we are going to send as staff to mayor and council. We'll make sure that it's part of the package that we send.
Awesome.
So just send it to me and Jody. Jody is not here, but I will forward it to the other board members so that they can take a look at it and maybe, depending on mayor and council schedule, we'll figure out what to do.
Will do. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, number 6, staff updates. Michael, are there any staff updates?
No, don't really have any right now. Of course, as you know, the commission thing is still pending. Nothing is actually certain. The only update I can give to you now is that the city is moving to a new permitting system, the NGOV, which is going to go live over 31st. And so it will be a new system. The staff is doing a lot of in-house training to get ourselves used to it. And there will be some challenges. And we definitely know that. But that's the way we are going to go now. That's this update I can give to you.
Okay. Do we have a design guidelines meeting set up? Does anybody know?
Let me check.
I can't access my calendar right now. Oh, maybe I can.
Yes, November 7th.
Okay, so it's the 7th. Yeah, so that's design. And Michael, do you know if we're going to have a board meeting the week after? Was it?
I don't right now. I am not working on any application in the Barrio at this point in time. I have one. It's not yet complete. So I am not sure whether they'll be able to complete that to be a meeting thereafter. If not, I will say no. But I'm working on one application.
You're working on just one?
It's just one.
So for submittal on the 14th of November?
Yes.
Okay.
But I'm not sure whether applicants are slow to start, and then with us starting new permitting system, I'm not sure how that is play out. But
Okay.
there's one.
So we'll definitely be on for November 7th then. Make a motion to adjourn the meeting today. Do I have a second? Should we just keep meeting then?
I'm sorry, I had a little trouble hearing you just now.
Oh, I was just going to make a motion to adjourn today. We need a second.
I will second it.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
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 Yep. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. So I joined at 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock.
Thank you. I'm going to stop the recording right now.
Thank you, Michael. Have a good week.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.